Las Vegas. The city of bright lights and big bets has a new gamble playing out, and this one isn't on the casino floor. The housing market here has become a financially deadly mix of record-breaking home prices, stubbornly high interest rates, surging inventory, and sellers who refuse to face reality. On paper, it's a paradox. Listings are exploding, homes are sitting longer than ever, and yet the median price still hovers around an eye-watering 485,000. 10,000 active listings, hundreds of new ones every month, and properties lingering nearly twice as long on the market as last year. And somehow buyers are still being told they're getting a deal. But what kind of deal is it when a home that sold for $1.4 million just a few years ago is now listed at more than $2 million, with a flashy banner shouting $273,000 in savings? Or when investors flip a house for double its value in less than 6 months? These aren't discounts, they're illusions. And if you don't know how to read between the lines, those illusions can be financially deadly. In this video, we're going to uncover the shocking truth behind Las Vegas homes for sale. From fake discounts to overpriced flips, from luxury mansions to starter homes, I'll show you how sellers and builders are playing the game and what you need to do to survive it. Las Vegas has always been known for extremes, and its housing market today is the perfect example of just how far those extremes can go. On the surface, the numbers don't add up. Inventory has surged nearly 50% in a single year, ballooning to more than 10,000 active listings as of July 2025. That means buyers have more choices than at any point in recent memory. Homes that once disappeared within days are now sitting on the market for an average of 48 days compared to just 29 days last year. In any normal market, more supply and slower sales would push prices down. But in Las Vegas, the opposite has happened. The median home price has locked in at $485,000, near record highs. This is the paradox that defines the Vegas market: more inventory, slower absorption, and yet no real break in affordability. How did we get here? Part of the answer lies in seller psychology. Many homeowners are still anchored to the frenzy years of 2021 and 2022, when bidding wars drove offers tens of thousands above asking price. Even as market conditions shift, they cling to those inflated expectations, convinced their home is worth more than the comps suggest. That denial is reinforced by aggressive marketing from builders and investors who frame modest reductions as massive discounts. To the average buyer, a red banner boasting six-figure savings looks enticing, but in reality, most of those cuts are coming down from artificially inflated list prices, not true market value. The other piece of the puzzle is external demand. Las Vegas isn't just serving local workers. Out-of-state buyers, particularly from high-cost markets like California, continue to pour in, bringing bigger budgets that keep the pressure on median prices. For a California family selling a $1.2 million starter home in Los Angeles, paying $500,000 for a larger property in Nevada still feels like a bargain. That inflow of buyers props up pricing even while local incomes can't sustain it. The result is a split market, one where locals are squeezed out and outsiders with deeper pockets hold the line on values. Together, these forces create a dangerous illusion of stability. Sellers think they can wait out the market. Buyers believe they must act before prices climb higher. And builders are happy to play the middle, flashing savings while keeping prices well above historical norms. But the cracks are already showing. Longer days on market, repeated price reductions, and rising inventory are the early warning signs that this balance can't last forever. Las Vegas is at a crossroads. Either sellers adjust to reality, or buyers begin to walk away, forcing prices to catch up with the fundamentals. For now, the city sits in the middle of this paradox, flooded with listings, yet still unaffordable. And, as we'll see in the next section, some of the most eye-catching discounts on new construction are anything but real bargains. If you really want to understand how distorted the Las Vegas housing market has become, you need to look no further than the flashy discounts plastered across builder websites. On the surface, they look irresistible. Bold red banners screaming $273,000 in savings, or a $100, $1,000 price cut. For a buyer scrolling through listings, it feels like the jackpot moment, finally proof that prices are coming down. But dig a little deeper, and you realize these discounts are less like genuine bargains and more like marketing illusions. Take the Victoria model, one of the builder's flagship homes. Just 3 years ago, this 5-bedroom, 5-bath, 4,500 square foot property was priced at around $1.4 million. Expensive, yes, but in line with luxury homes in that period. Fast forward to today, and the same model was listed at a jaw-dropping $2.3 million, before being reduced to just over $2 million. Builders highlight the $273,000 markdown as a massive savings. But the reality is that the home never justified a $2.3 million price tag in the first place. What they're calling a discount is really a step down from an inflated fantasy price, still leaving the property hundreds of thousands more expensive than it was just a few years ago. And the Victoria model isn't an outlier. On the same site, other homes boasted $100, $1,000 in savings, $80,000 off, or $67,000 price cuts. But in each case, the supposed reduction was simply a rollback from an artificially high asking price. A property originally marketed at $1.45 million, for instance, was slashed to $1.35 million. Another went from $757,000 to $609,000. On paper, these cuts look dramatic. In reality, they are carefully staged to create urgency and trick buyers into believing they are walking away with a deal. The problem isn't just the pricing itself, it's the psychology behind it. Builders know buyers are overwhelmed by headlines about rising inventory and falling affordability. By presenting inflated reductions, they feed the narrative that smart shoppers can swoop in and save big. In truth, buyers are still paying far above historical value, and in some cases, above what the neighborhood comps support. It's the real estate equivalent of a department store marking up a sweater 50%, then offering a half-off sale. You're not getting a deal, you're being manipulated. For buyers, the danger of falling for these fake discounts is twofold. First, you risk overpaying for a home, locking yourself into a mortgage that stretches your budget thin for years to come. Second, you inherit the risk of being underwater if the market corrects, holding a property purchased at the top end of inflated builder pricing. That's not just financially stressful, it can be financially deadly if circumstances force you to sell before the market rebounds. This is why new construction buyers must tread carefully. Don't take builder discounts at face value. Always compare against the home's historical price point, nearby comparable sales, and the pace of reductions in the broader neighborhood. The banner may shout savings, but the fine print tells the real story. And as we'll see in the next section, it isn't only the builders playing this game. On the resale market too, sellers and investors are inflating, flipping, and reducing prices in ways that create just as much confusion and just as much danger for unsuspecting buyers. While builders use flashy banners to disguise inflated prices as bargains, the resale market tells an equally revealing story. On platforms like Zillow, you can see the raw history of listings where sellers started, how much they cut, and whether they're willing to face reality. 4 recent examples from Las Vegas highlight just how chaotic and misleading this market has become. The first case sits firmly in the luxury tier. A fully remodeled home in a guard-gated golf course community was purchased in February 2025 for $1.7 million. Just 7 months later, it was relisted for an astonishing $375 million. Yes, the remodel was extensive, and yes, it likely cost several $100,000. Even if the investor poured $500,000 into upgrades, their total cost would hover around $2.2 million. Instead of aiming for a healthy profit in the upper $2 million range, they listed it for nearly double. The catch: comparable homes in the same neighborhood are valued between $1 million and $2.5 million. By asking $375 million, this seller priced themselves well outside the market. For buyers, the lesson is clear: never purchase the most expensive home on the block, no matter how shiny the renovation. The second example shows how unrealistic pricing can backfire over time. This entry-level luxury home, originally listed in February for $1.25 million, languished on the market despite repeated reductions. Within months, the seller trimmed it to $119 million, then $1.1 million, then $1.05 million, before finally settling at $1 million. That's a $250,000 drop, and still no buyer has stepped up. Why? Because the true fair market value sits closer to the high $900, and this kind of slow drip pricing strategy wastes months and signals to buyers that the seller was never serious about matching the market to begin with. The third case is even more striking. A seller purchased a 5-bedroom property for $744,000 in May 2025. Just 2 months later, they relisted it for the same price. When no offers came, the price was cut to $699,000, then to $669,000. In just a few months, the seller slashed $75,000 and still couldn't escape the fact that they overpaid in the first place. It's a rare but growing scenario, desperate sellers willing to take a loss because they can't afford to hold. For buyers, these homes can be opportunities if you're careful and base your offer on recent comps, not what the seller needs to break even. Finally, a more modest example illustrates the broader trend. A 3-bedroom home purchased for $470,000 in 2022 was ambitiously listed in March 2025 at $635,000. After multiple reductions, it eventually sold for $535,000, only about $65,000 above its 2022 purchase price. On paper, that might look like appreciation, but adjusted for inflation fees and holding costs, it's barely a win. More importantly, it proves how far sellers must cut from initial wish prices to meet buyer expectations in today's market. Together, these 4 stories expose the reality of Las Vegas real estate. Many sellers are clinging to unrealistic valuations, while buyers are slowly regaining leverage. Price reductions are happening across every price tier, from multi-million-dollar remodels to starter homes. But the headline numbers, $100 off or price cut of $75, don't tell the whole story. What matters is where the property started, where it should realistically be, and how long it sits unsold. For buyers, the key takeaway is this: patience pays. The longer a home sits on the market, the more desperate the seller becomes, and the better your negotiating position. And as we'll explore in the next section, there are clear red flags and tricks that both sellers and builders use to make inflated prices look appealing. Red flags every buyer should learn to spot. By now, the pattern is obvious: sellers and builders in Las Vegas are inflating prices, staging reductions, and playing psychological games to make overpriced homes appear like deals. For buyers, the danger lies in not recognizing the red flags, because what looks like an opportunity can quickly become a financial trap. One of the biggest tricks is the fake discount. Builders especially rely on this tactic. They start by inflating the original price well beyond market reality, then slash it with a bold banner announcing tens or even hundreds of thousands in savings. On the surface, it looks like you're walking away with a steal. But as we saw with the Victoria model, today's discounted price of $2 million was still hundreds of thousands more than its real value just a few years ago. When the list price is based on fiction, the discount is too. Another red flag is the slow drip reduction strategy. Instead of correcting the price to meet the market, many sellers reduce in small increments: $10,000 here, $20,000 there, dragging the listing out for months. This not only wastes time, but also signals that the seller is reluctant to face reality. If you see a home with 3 or more reductions, that's often a sign of desperation. It also gives buyers leverage. The longer the days on market, the more likely the seller will cave to a serious offer. Investors bring their own set of pitfalls. A common trick is the remodel flip with an outrageous markup. A property purchased for $1.7 million gets renovated with $500 or $1,000 in upgrades, only to be relisted for $3.75 million. Yes, the home looks stunning, but the price is wildly out of sync with neighborhood comps. This is why comparing to nearby sales is crucial. If the remodeled home is $1 million more than anything around it, it's not a good investment. No matter how tempting the finishes are, you don't want to own the most expensive home in the subdivision. Then there are pseudo-incentives like mortgage rate buydowns, closing cost credits, or free upgrades. While some of these perks can be valuable, they often mask an inflated sales price. For example, a builder might advertise $20,000 in closing cost credits, but only after tacking on $50,000 to the base price of the home. The illusion of generosity hides the reality you're still overpaying. Always run the math to see whether the incentive offsets the added cost or simply sweetens the deal for the seller. Finally, watch out for outlier pricing and inflated comparables. Sellers sometimes cherry-pick the highest recent sale in a neighborhood, ignoring lower comps to justify an inflated ask. If the house down the street sold for $700 on toppers after extensive upgrades, they'll try to argue their dated home is worth the same. The antidote is a proper comparative market analysis, where you or your agent adjust for square footage, condition, and amenities to find the real value. The thread connecting all these tricks is simple. They're designed to prey on fear of missing out. Builders and sellers know buyers feel pressure to act quickly, worried that if they don't grab a deal today, someone else will. But in today's Las Vegas market, the opposite is true. Inventory is climbing. Sellers are growing impatient, and the longer you wait, the better your negotiating position becomes. Recognizing the red flags doesn't just protect you, it arms you with the confidence to call the bluff and make smarter offers. And in the next section, we'll shift from identifying the traps to building a survival plan. Because in a market, this unstable buyers need a playbook to negotiate aggressively, avoid overpaying, and actually turn the chaos into opportunity. In a market as chaotic and deceptive as Las Vegas, right now, buyers need more than caution, they need a strategy. It's not enough to scroll through listings or fall for savings banners. To protect yourself and actually come out ahead, you need a disciplined playbook that turns the current mess into an opportunity. The first rule is simple: study the price history. Platforms like Zillow or Redfin often display the full timeline of a property's listing activity, including the original ask and every reduction since. If you see multiple cuts, you know the seller is testing the market and getting desperate. Homes sitting longer than 45 or 60 days become prime targets for negotiation. Don't be afraid to make a bold offer if the days on market suggest the seller's patience is running thin. Second, run the comps. Never take a list price at face value. Pull recent sales in the same neighborhood, ideally within the past 90 days and within a half-mile radius. Adjust for square footage, upgrades, and condition. If the seller's price is far higher than comparable homes, you're not facing a deal, you're facing greed. A proper comparative market analysis is the most powerful weapon a buyer can use. Third, negotiate everything. In a market flooded with inventory, sellers are motivated to make concessions. Push for closing cost credits, repair allowances, and even mortgage buydowns, but only after negotiating the base price down to a fair level. Don't let free perks distract you from the bigger picture. If the house is overpriced, credits won't save you. The real win is reducing the sale price and then layering incentives on top. Fourth, time is your ally. The slower the market, the stronger your position. Use seasonality to your advantage. Toward the end of the year, especially around the holidays, buyer activity slows dramatically and sellers become anxious to offload properties before carrying costs stretch into another year. That's when you'll see the steepest discounts and the most flexible negotiations. Fifth, protect yourself with contingencies. Always include appraisal and inspection contingencies in your offer. In a volatile market, there's a real risk that the appraised value will come in lower than the contract price. If that happens, you'll have leverage to renegotiate or walk away without penalty. An inspection contingency ensures you're not blindsided by hidden repair costs that erode any savings you thought you were getting. Finally, remember this: don't buy the most expensive home on the block. It's tempting to fall for a remodel that looks like it belongs in a magazine, but outlier pricing is risky. Value in real estate is built on consistency. If your home is worth significantly more than anything around it, you'll struggle to recoup your money when it's time to sell. Stick to properties priced in line with the neighborhood or slightly below it, and you'll maximize both your safety and your upside. The bottom line is that buyers in Las Vegas right now have leverage, but only if they use it wisely. Sellers may still be clinging to inflated expectations, but rising inventory and longer days on market have shifted the balance of power. With patience, research, and strong negotiation, buyers can flip the script, turning a financially deadly market into one full of hidden opportunities. And in the next section, we'll tackle the big question on every buyer's mind: when should you act and when should you wait? Because timing, as in gambling, can make all the difference between walking away a winner or leaving the table broke. In Las Vegas, real estate today, knowing when to wait and when to strike is just as critical as knowing how to negotiate. Timing, more than anything, determines whether you walk away with a smart purchase or end up overpaying in a market full of traps. The first scenario, where waiting pays off, is when you see multiple similar listings in the same area. If 3 or 4 homes in the same neighborhood are priced near each other and sitting unsold, patience is your friend. Competition among sellers forces them to cut prices. The longer you wait, the more motivated they become to undercut one another. You don't want to be the early buyer who pays full price while the neighbor next door sells for $50,000 less a month later. Another clear wait signal is drip pricing. If a home has already had 2 or 3 small reductions, but is still overpriced compared to comps, that seller isn't ready to meet reality. Let the days on market pile up. At 60 days, urgency grows. At 90 days, desperation sets in. That's when serious reductions appear, and that's when buyers gain true leverage. Financial distress is another area to watch. Flippers or recent buyers who relist quickly often become unwilling sellers when their carrying costs stack up. If someone bought a property 6 months ago and is now cutting prices, it's a strong sign they're in trouble. Waiting them out can result in a deep discount, as they're often more concerned with unloading the property than protecting their profit margin. But sometimes, waiting too long can cost you. Knowing when to act is equally important. If a property has already seen 2 or 3 significant price drops, tens of thousands, not just token reductions, it means the seller has likely reached the bottom of what they're willing to accept. Combine that with days on market above 45, and you've got a prime chance to step in with a serious offer. Another buy now moment comes when a seller offers meaningful incentives on top of a fair price. Closing cost credits, rate buydowns, or repair allowances can tip the scales in your favor. The trick is ensuring the base price is already aligned with comps. If it is, those perks can sweeten the deal without inflating the overall cost. Seasonality also matters. The holiday season and year-end months are some of the best times to buy. Sellers don't want to carry unsold properties into January when expenses reset and new competition floods the market. If you find a property sitting through November or December, make your move. Your odds of a favorable deal are highest when sellers are eager to close out the year. Finally, remember the broader market dynamics. With interest rates high and inventory climbing, buyers hold the power. But this won't last forever. If rates drop significantly in 2026, demand will spike, competition will return, and today's cautious market could quickly swing back in favor of sellers. That means waiting endlessly could backfire. Acting strategically now on the right home at the right price might save you from a bidding war later. The golden rule is this: wait when the market is still bloated, but strike when the opportunity aligns with reality. Patience can save you tens of thousands, but decisiveness at the right moment can lock in a property before others catch on. And as we wrap this up, we'll bring it all together in the outro. The deadly paradox of Las Vegas housing the illusions of fake discounts and the smarter path buyers can take to turn this chaos into opportunity. Las Vegas has always been a city of high stakes, but today the gamble isn't on the casino floor, it's in the housing market. Record high prices, inflated discounts, and sellers clinging to fantasy numbers have created a financially deadly mix for anyone not paying attention. Yet within the chaos lies opportunity. Inventory is rising, days on market are stretching, and sellers are more motivated than they've been in years. For buyers who know how to read the numbers, spot the red flags, and negotiate aggressively. This isn't a market to fear, it's a market to master. The lessons are clear. Don't fall for fake discounts. Don't get pressured into paying above comps, and never rush into a deal just because the listing says price reduced. Patience and strategy are your best weapons. Wait for desperation to set in, act decisively when the value is real, and always remember, the true deal is the one that protects your future, not the seller's bottom line. So the question is, will you play the game by their rules or use the market's cracks to your advantage? Drop your thoughts in the comments, share your experiences with Las Vegas housing, and don't forget to subscribe for more truth about America's most unpredictable markets. Because in real estate, just like in Vegas, timing and discipline separate winners from losers.